The Eternal Moment is a speculative and satirical short story by Forster, first published in his 1928 collection The Eternal Moment and Other Stories. A notable work of early science fiction or speculative fiction, it explores themes such as technological progress, nostalgia, the corruption of art by commerce, and the dissonance between memory and modernity. Forster, best known for his novels A Passage to India and Howard's End, wrote several short stories that ventured into the fantastical and the prophetic. In The Eternal Moment, he blends dystopian elements with poignant emotional reflection, creating a narrative that critiques industrial expansion and its erosion of authentic human experience. The story follows the experience of Miss R, a novelist, who revisits a remote Italian village named Mongeronio after many years. Years ago, Miss R had visited Mongeronio as a young woman and was deeply moved by its natural beauty, tranquility, and simplicity. The village, then untouched by modernization, inspired one of her greatest literary works, a novel that celebrated the emotional purity and spiritual depth of the place. Now middle-aged and established as a writer, Miss R returns to Mongeronio seeking to relive or recapture that eternal moment of inspiration. However, upon arrival, she finds the village grotesquely transformed. The once quiet hamlet is now a bustling industrial town. The natural beauty has been ravaged by smokestacks, factories, and tourism infrastructure. The train station is noisy, the landscape polluted, and the people unrecognizable from the rustic simplicity she remembered. To her horror, she discovers that the entire transformation has been driven by her own novel. Her romanticization of Mongeronio in the book has led readers and developers to descend on the village, turning it into a commodity. Her artistic creation has become the blueprint for its destruction. The story ends with Miss R walking away in sorrow and disillusionment, her eternal moment corrupted by the very recognition she sought. Characters. 1. Miss R, protagonist. Miss R is an introspective, emotionally sensitive woman, reflective of Forster's recurring character type, a solitary individual grappling with modernity. She embodies the tension between artistic idealism and material reality. Though unnamed beyond her initial, her inner life is rich and central to the narrative. 2. Mongeronio, symbolic setting. The town itself is a character of sorts. It functions as both a physical space and a metaphor for lost innocence and corrupted beauty. The transformation of Mongeronio from pastoral idyll to industrial nightmare dramatizes the impact of modernization and tourism on traditional societies. 3. Townspeople and developers. Though not individually developed, the townspeople and tourist operators represent the collective force of capitalism, industry, and modern consumer culture. They exploit Miss R's work without understanding its meaning or emotional depth. Major themes. 1. The corruption of art by commerce. The central irony of the story is that Miss R's artistic expression, rooted in authenticity and emotion, has led to the commercialization of a sacred space. Forster critiques the way literature, once it enters the public domain, can be distorted and commodified by market forces. 2. Nostalgia and memory. Miss R's return to Mongeronio is fueled by nostalgia, but the past proves unrecoverable. The story explores the fragility of memory when confronted with the crude reality of time and change. It underscores how personal memory cannot withstand the collective amnesia of modernization. 3. The dangers of technological progress. Forster is often ambivalent about technological advancement. In The Eternal Moment, he presents industrial progress as inherently destructive, not just of nature but of meaning. Trains, factories, and roads replace trees and streams, but also spiritual connection and quietude. 4. Isolation and disconnection. Miss R is emotionally and psychologically isolated. Her alienation is exacerbated by her inability to communicate with the modern world of Mongeronio. She represents the isolated artist or intellectual, a person who feels increasingly out of place in a mechanized society. 5. Time, permanence, and transience. The title, The Eternal Moment, is deeply ironic. The moment Miss R remembers was anything but eternal. It was fleeting, dependent on a specific emotional and historical context. The story suggests that time erodes even the most profound experiences, especially when society attempts to fossilize or reproduce them. Analysis of style and structure. 1. Third-person limited narration. The story is told from a third-person limited perspective, focusing primarily on Miss R's consciousness. This allows readers to experience her disillusionment in intimate detail while also offering some ironic distance. 2. Symbolism. The train symbolizes industrial encroachment and the end of solitude. Smoke and noise represent pollution of both environment and mind. The hotel and tourists stand for commercialization and cultural degradation. 3. Tone. The tone shifts from wistful and hopeful at the beginning to somber, ironic, and elegiac by the end. Forster balances restrained satire with deep empathy for Miss R's pain. 4. Use of irony. There is deep situational irony in the fact that Miss R's work, intended to immortalize a sacred experience, leads to its desecration. Forster's quiet irony critiques the unintended consequences of even well-meaning acts. Philosophical and literary context. 1. Early speculative fiction. Forster is often seen as a precursor to modern dystopian literature. The Eternal Moment shares thematic concerns with his other speculative story, The Machine Stops. Both stories express anxiety over the loss of human values in the face of technological dominance. 2. Romanticism versus modernity. The story dramatizes a clash between romantic ideals, nature, solitude, emotional truth, and modernist realities, industry, urbanization, alienation. Miss R's heartbreak is not just personal but emblematic of a broader cultural shift. 3. Art and responsibility. Forster implicitly questions the role and responsibility of the artist. Should the artist foresee the consequences of their work? Or does the act of creation absolve the creator from what follows? 4. Feminist resonances. Though not overtly feminist, the story's portrayal of Miss R as a single woman seeking creative autonomy and personal depth has feminist undertones. Her emotional and intellectual journey defies conventional roles for women of her era, emphasizing inner experience over social conformity. The ending and its significance. The story concludes with Miss R turning away from Mongeronio, overwhelmed by what has become of it. Her final thoughts are tinged with regret, but also clarity. The eternal moment she sought no longer exists, not because she imagined it, but because it was destroyed by those who misunderstood and misused it. The ending is tragic in its acknowledgement that some things, once lost, cannot be recovered. It is also a quiet indictment of a society that consumes beauty but cannot preserve it. Critical reception and legacy. The Eternal Moment is often overshadowed by Forster's novels, but it remains a powerful short story, admired for its precision, emotional depth, and prophetic insights. It has been studied as a critique of modernity, a cautionary tale about commercialization, a lament for lost spiritual values. Critics have drawn parallels between Miss R and Forster himself, both writers of moral vision, grappling with the tensions of progress and permanence. Conclusion. E. M. Forster's The Eternal Moment is a haunting meditation on memory, art, and the irreversible nature of change. Through the journey of Miss R, Forster explores the ethical dilemmas of creativity, the pain of nostalgia, and the cultural blindness of modern development. The story remains deeply relevant in today's world, where tourism, media, and capitalism continue to commodify the sacred, reducing lived experience to spectacle. Miss R's heartbreak is not just about a place, It's about the human soul's shrinking space in a world that confuses reproduction with remembrance, and consumption with reverence. In this tale of one woman's sorrow, Forster offers a quiet but powerful elegy for all that is lost when the eternal becomes merely popular.